Welcome to WACSUN Weekly. WACSUN Weekly is the official Western Athletic and ASUN Conference podcast of FCS Fans Nation. WACSUN Weekly is hosted by Dustin Helton, Brandon Owens, and Will Seiler.
Welcome back, FCS Fans Nation, to another episode of WACSUN Weekly. It is post-week 6, and that means it is time to look at some bracketology. And our main man, Brandon Owens, is ready to piss off your fan base. So it's going to be interesting. We'll get through some look back at last week, and then we'll get into the nitty-gritty of some Brandon's bracketology, as we're going to call it. So I don't know how often we'll do this. I don't think we'll do it every week, but every few weeks we'll revisit it, and as often as Brandon's willing to do the research. How late were you up last night?
It took me an hour after I think I started around 10, so it took me an hour.
What time did you send the message? It was like 1 a.m.
Oh, literally right before I went to bed.
Okay.
I was done way before then. I was still like looking and refining, but I had like my teams in there.
That's interesting. We'll have to we'll go through the methodology of it. But Rev, we'll talk to Brandon. How are you?
I look forward to being in somebody's hype video next week.
Yeah.
I think we just felt left out last weekend when we weren't in anybody's hype video, so I'm pretty damn sure we're gonna get in somebody's hype video after this. After Brandon does this, like
probably
might be the fastest game recap we go through, because Will and I saw Brandon's bracketology and went, all right, better get ready for social media to blow up this week.
That it'll be interesting for sure. Just to run through some results though from week 6, Kennesaw beat North Alabama in a barn burner. That was a fun one, 40-34. I'm gonna skip over the second one. SFA narrowly escaped Abilene Christian 41-38, and then Tarleton in a very close game took down Southern Utah 42-40. And then the last game of the day, UCA beat Lindenwood 52-49. We let them hang around, but we came back and won. It was
you want to say that accurately this time?
Yeah. So UCA got beat 52-49 by the transitioning Lindenwood Lions, who have scared a couple teams until the fourth quarter and then gotten blown out, and they scared us until the final buzzer. So that was not a fun game. And honestly, let's just talk about it first, because I want to get it out of the way. I tweeted last night, I am sad, and I still am sad. I'm going to remain sad until we don't lose to Lindenwood. So it is what it is. There were, I think, like 1,300 combined yards of offense almost. It was ridiculous. We had like 590 and they had like 640. It was 35-28 at halftime. It was 49-49, I think, in the third quarter. It was ridiculous. Cade Brister, quarterback for Lindenwood, is the real deal. He's at his best when he's running, and we kind of knew that, but he can make people miss like nobody's business. So I know, Rev, you watched it because you texted me and asked what the frick was going on. But what was your diagnosis of the situation? Because I'm a little bit upset, and so maybe can't look at it in the correct light.
I just want to know what the hell happened to the Central Arkansas defense. I don't know if it was the fact that you guys used the running bear again and the running bear's curse, and you need to stop with that logo.
Retire the running bear.
I don't know what it was, but your defense has kept y'all in all year games, and then all of a sudden it's like they look past Lindenwood because they're transition, or I don't know what the hell they did, but it's like they decided not to show up. It's like they forgot how to play defense. Basically, it it's it's not a good thing. I'm not saying Lindenwood's a bad team. They're a transitioning team, but their best win had been Houston Christian. And I don't even know if that was their best win because that D2 team, Kaiser, might have been better than Houston Christian.
Yeah.
So that's just a real bad look for the Bears right now. I mean, I'm sure they'll dust it off. I know Coach Brown will get past it. They'll focus on next week. They've got a big game with the soon-to-be Conference USA member, Kennesaw State Owls. But if Lindenwood is able to, if mobile quarterback's able to move on them, what do you think Kennesaw State's going to have? They're going to have Xavier Shepard back there, because there's injured what's his name, Murphy. So that's not boding very well for the Bears this week. So hopefully Coach Brown works with and gets the defense just back intact, because it wasn't your offense,
Nope.
and necessarily your special teams this time. It was just your defense said, "Oh, let's have a shootout today."
Yeah, we so far just have not put 3 phases of the game together. Either the offense is clicking and special teams is good, and then the defense falls apart, or vice versa, or what have you. So very disappointing. We'll be interested to see what the comments are from Coach Brown tomorrow and this week, because I know that there's some discontent, not necessarily from me. I think I don't know how to phrase it, so I'm just gonna stop. But I do think that he's the guy. I think he's the guy for the job. But I do know there's a lot of people that don't. So it's unfortunate because no one loves UCA more than Nathan Brown. So
yeah, I think I think anybody who has discontent with him doesn't realize what they have, and
Right.
they're not going to realize what they have until he leaves, and they're going to be like, "Wow, you remember when Nathan Brown's around?" And yeah, you guys basically forced him out with your discontent. Like,
yeah.
You have a great coach who has really taken that program to really up from where it was up to the next level. Is he the guy that's going to win UCA national championship? Probably not. But is he the guy that's going to have UCA in the playoffs year in and year out over the next few years? Probably so. Like, you lost a lot last year. You have to temper your expectations. You have Darius Hale, who you probably are going to lose next year to FBS. So just enjoy him while you have him too. Like, realize where you are, realize what got you there, which is Coach Brown, and realize that he still has the ability to get you guys, as an annual playoff team in Brant.
I agree. I just think that the best coach you can have at a program is a coach that truly loves the program, because a lot of schools have, like, take Arkansas State, for example. Butch Jones doesn't give up what about Arkansas State football. He's trying to win some football games so he can get a job in an SEC school again. And anyway, so I'm riding with Coach Brown, and I will until the day I die. So, and Rev does too, and that's all that matters.
Yep.
Moving on, though, Kennesaw State narrowly escaped North Alabama 40-34, and man, was that a game. So, Brandon, this is closer to your neck of the woods, so diagnose that game.
So Kennesaw the first surprise I noticed when I turned that game on is Xavier Shepard was playing. I thought they were going to start Jonathan Murphy. So I was very surprised to see Xavier Shepard out there. Excuse me. Now, he did get the most rushing yards, so maybe that threw UNA off because they were preparing for Jonathan Murphy. But UNA looked ready to play. They came in and just hung with Kennesaw State the entire game. It was back and forth the entire game. I don't know exactly what happened to UNA at the end, because they were still playing really, really hard. But you can only do so much, and they didn't do enough. So that's all I gotta say. But Kennesaw really surprised me because I thought UNA was going to go in there and win, even though I think I picked Kennesaw last week.
Rev?
Yeah, I was going to say, so, I mean, Shepard was in because Murphy got injured. That's why he was in. But that play at the end, I know you thought it was pass interference. It really wasn't pass interference. But one play, it stinks when a game ends on a play that two different sides are going to view as defensive pass interference or not.
Mm-hmm.
That I think though that game shows that too, that North Alabama's doing okay right now at D1.
Mhm.
Like they are growing, and they're going to be a force to be reckoned with in the ASUN over the next few years. So
If the ASUN still exists.
of course, if the ASUN still exists at this point, you never know what's going to happen. But I mean, shout out.
But I mean, over the past, they had a 4-year transitional period.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if you include this year, 5 years, they have had so many close games to D1 opponents.
Yeah.
One of the announcers said they have had so many close games, so close to getting like the wins that they need to gain respect, even though I think they're gaining respect when they have those kinds of games.
Yeah.
But I mean, UNA is doing just fine. Just give him a few more years. And people are calling for the coach's job. And I'm like, you can't give him another year at least before you even consider that.
Yeah.
Coach Willis has, man, I have so much respect for him.
Yeah.
He just hearing him talk, like that transition period was hard because they had nothing to play for. And then you take into consideration they had to play the COVID year just for it to count as part of the transition year. I mean, those dudes haven't played meaningful football in 5 years. And I don't know. It's kind of weird. So the fact that he's ridden it out with them, I have a lot of respect for him. And hearing him talk makes me hope they do well.
Yeah, give him one more year. Give him a year where it's not a like give him a year where they're eligible. Give him a year for him to do all this. Like, I think, to be honest with you, it's really funny. You're thinking about the ASUN still exists. I think with the news of Kennesaw State going to CUSA, that's going to cement the WACSUN as a future long-term conference.
Yeah.
I think. They
need to come up with a different name.
They need to come up with a different name from the AQ7. So hopefully they're listening and they come up with some. Maybe they just call it the Atlantic. I don't know. I don't know what you call it. You don't want to call it the American
South Football Conference.
The American South Football Conference.
Let's hold that thought because in the middle we can talk about this.
Yeah, I think that's a good thing to talk about because again, once we get to Brandon's bracketology, hell's gonna break loose. So let's have
we gotta have something Oh man. But I'll play devil's advocate here. If you're a North Alabama fan, I think you can be a little bit frustrated that you've got a ton of moral victories, but you don't have very many real ones. And so I think you can at some point go, okay, when are we going to win one of those? Like when are we going to be close and pull it out against a team that maybe we're not as good as? And so I do see where the discontent, but I do think, again, going back to what we talked about with UCA, don't wish for something bigger if you're not actually be thankful for what you have, because Coach Willis is a heck of a football coach and he's a heck of a dude. And so I think they need to be content with who they've got, because I think he is a special football coach. So, all right, going on. SFA, Abilene Christian, in what was honestly one of the craziest finishes I think I've seen. I don't know why people aren't talking about it as much. It's just honestly wild. Recap the end of it, because if I have this correct, I didn't get to see it, but if I have it correct, Abilene kicked a game-winning field goal. Yeah. It came up short. Yep. SFA returned it. Yep. Into field goal range, or almost into field goal range, but got a 15-yard penalty. No time on the clock, untimed down. Yep. And that 15 yards moved them into field goal range. Yep. So basically, recapping the game, SFA was up 21. Abilene Christian came back, and then they went back and forth on it. Abilene Christian was on their drive. They had I think it was 52, 53-yard field goal they went for. It was short. Xavier Gibson caught it in the end zone, ran it back to the 49-yard line, got horse collared. And so they called the horse collar penalty. Gave him 15 yards. So Chris Campos, 54 yards out. I mean, right down the middle. Chris Campos is a dog.
Dude, that guy has got a leg on him. My favorite thing about him, though, is that everybody's reaction celebrating, and he's just like, are you not entertained whenever he hit it? But that was one. I mean, you want to talk about an offensive slugfest between these two teams. I was looking at stats. Maverick McElvore, he had 283 yards passing, 2 touchdowns and a pick. Jeremiah Dobbins, man, that guy is a stud. The Abilene Christian running back, 166 yards, I think 3 touchdowns, just insane. On the SFA side, Xavier Gibson went for 144, but no touchdowns. Jarrell Wembley went for 99 yards, 2 touchdowns on the ground. Trey Self ran one in. Miles Reed ran one in. Like, it was just an absolute just beast of a game between those two teams. And that return match in Abilene on November the 19th is going to be, I mean, it could
Electric.
be for who wins the WAC.
Oh, did he freeze for you too?
Yeah, he just stopped.
Oh no, we're gonna get double rev again. It's gonna be wild. I think what he was saying was that might be for the WAC championship with the rematch
I
in
agree.
Abilene, and if it is, it could be for the auto bid because the way the ASUN may tear each other apart. I believe going into this week there won't be anybody from the ASUN ranked, and I know in a lot.
I still have 2 teams from the ASUN ranked.
Do you? I'm assuming it's Eastern and Austin P.
Yeah.
But depending on what happens, that could be for the auto bid because if Abilene doesn't lose again and then wins that rematch, be hard to, put
deny Abilene the auto bid. Yeah.
2-loss Abilene. So I don't know. That could be very interesting. I think people might be looking over Abilene.
I don't remember who said it, but somebody said that with Jacksonville State playing a full ASUN conference schedule, that could complicate things. Even though their games don't count,
the games count.
They do count. Okay, then it could complicate things a lot.
Which it's kind of, in my opinion, it's unfortunate because if their order of finish doesn't matter, why should their games count? Like, if you guys come to Conway and beat us on the last game of the year, and that game now moves us down in a conference order finish, it doesn't feel right. If they aren't eligible for the ASUN title, I don't know that their games should count against other teams. So, I mean, I guess it's all the same, unless.
Well, even if they didn't, like, just them playing Jacksonville State complicates things a lot because, I mean, they're a conference member. People are going to look at that game as a conference game.
Sure. Yeah, it does. It complicates things a lot. So, screw you, JSU, for making everything stupid.
Sorry, we can't help things. We're so used to it.
Yeah. But moving on down the list, hopefully Rev gets in here pretty soon because he is the expert on all things WAC. So
I guess it's around the ASUN for a hot second.
Yeah, I can throw the old logo up there. So Tarleton took on Southern Utah there in Cedar City and pulled out a 42-40 win in which they almost gave the game away in the fourth quarter. Southern Utah scored 27 points in the fourth quarter. And then, let's see, did they go for 2 at the end? Yes, they went for 2 at the end to tie it up. They had to, obviously. Otherwise, it would have been 42-41. And with 33 seconds on the clock, threw an incomplete pass on a 2-point conversion. So very unfortunate if you're a Southern Utah fan because you almost pulled off the comeback of the year, really. It was 35-13 going into the fourth quarter. And
35-14? 13.
Yeah, so Rev said computer issues. I'll get there when I can.
Okay.
That's great. Oh, man. I got to talk a little more, I guess. So, yeah, let's see. Looking at some stats from that game. Tarleton, they both had over 500 yards offense. Dang, I love 1,000-yard offensive games. I love that. But both teams just aired it out. 125 yards of rushing for both teams. That's interesting.
You don't see that very often.
No. Allen went 15-34 for 406. Good God, 400 yards on 15 completions. That is pretty gnarly. They shared the ball around. Let's see. Miller for Southern Utah, 32, 46 for 383. Dang, that's a lot of completions. So maybe a shorter average. But that's interesting because Tarleton now moves to 4-1. And let's see, they're not eligible for the playoffs again, right?
No.
Oh.
The one thing interesting about this team is they're looking more and more poised to make the jump to FBS.
which maybe in football that's a good idea, but I don't know that that's a good idea for them in anything else. I really think the A&M system wants another FBS school, and that's kind of their way of doing that. So anyway, Tarleton moves to 4-1. Southern Utah drops to 3-3, and Tarleton next week takes on Stephen F. Austin in NAC. So that'll be an interesting game because I want to see Tarleton take on a team that we know is very talented, SFA. SFA is obviously a very talented team. So we'll see how the Texans do there in Nacogdoches. I think that'll be fun. But while we're on the subject of potential FBS move-ups, the news broke on Friday. Was it Friday?
Friday, yeah.
That Kennesaw was poised to be the next call-up for the Conference USA. And that news broke from Pete Thamel. And so I had to eat crow immediately because I think last week on the show, I literally called you out and was like, look, Brandon, I haven't heard this from anybody except you. And so I don't believe it. And what do you know? Pete Thamel knows it. And I'll be honest, I believe Pete Thamel. So looks like Kennesaw, they have a board meeting, I think, this week.
Tuesday.
So maybe they'll be focused on moving up to the Conference USA and not playing
That's
UCA.
That's the only thing they're discussing at this meeting.
So it looks, more and more likely that they're going to be the next FBS member, which
thank God we don't have to do them like Sam Houston did to SFA.
Yeah. So I find myself a little bit salty, not because I want to go to the FBS. I don't. I want to stay FCS because obviously that's just where that's
until
the
certain
type of
things happen.
Sure, but I find myself a little bit salty that they're leaving because I don't necessarily think that they're this like giant sleeping. I don't think they're a sleeping giant in the football world. Maybe when they're playing, maybe when they get some big games there in Kennesaw, they'll have good crowds. But I mean, the stadium only seats 8,300 people or 8,500, something like that. So I know that rule is very loosely enforced, but I don't know. Them and Sam Houston both, I don't think are ready. Kennesaw is as far as the type of
school.
Yes, because I mean, second biggest school in Georgia. It's a massive university. So I get that, but as far as athletics go, I don't see them being just like this, sleeping giant that's ready to, be a major program. What I mean, how do you? I know you're glad they're coming because you have now left. But what do you feel like? Do you feel like they're prepared?
For certain sports, yes, but not all sports. They have a really good baseball team. So I think baseball-wise, this is going to be a fantastic move for them. Football, I don't think is there yet. They're on their way to being ready. But like I said, they're not there yet. And then they have a horrible basketball team. So
I will counter you and say that the baseball move is not good because they're moving down in baseball conferences. The ASUN is a much better baseball conference than the Conference USA.
Not according to the conference standings from last year.
But look at who left the Conference USA to go to the American. Hey, what's up, Rev? We're glad you're back.
Hey, sorry, but my computer completely just froze and I had to completely restart. Apologies.
Looks like you changed rooms on us.
I did. I also went and moved close to. I thought it was just a Wi-Fi, and I have an old house with thick walls, and I thought it was just that, but no, the whole computer, the whole laptop. Like the laptop's not old. I'm annoyed. Anyways, enough about my problems. Let's talk football.
We made it through. We stumbled through the Tarleton Southern Utah game without you. So
so bummed. That was actually one of my favorite games of the week.
We stumbled through it. I talked about the 2-point conversion that was failed.
Yeah.
So it is what it is. But we actually moved on. We're talking about the Conference USA snag in Kennesaw, and we're talking about
y'all are on deck, Grev.
No, we're not.
Trust me, y'all are on deck.
No, we're not.
Anyway, We
No,
were
we're
talking
not.
about
Yeah, go
other
ahead.
sport. We're talking about other sports, other than football. And he said Kennesaw has a good baseball team.
They do.
And I agreed. And he said that's a good move for them. And I said, I will counter you and say that the ASUN was actually a better baseball league.
They were, but Conference USA now has Sam Houston, and Sam Houston is,
and they have Liberty,
and they have Liberty.
So you took the
And
best
JSU
out of the
has a
WAC.
really good baseball team as well.
Okay, but they're not Sam Houston and they're not Liberty. They finished in the middle of the ASUN last year. They finished with an RPI of like 140, something like that. Like, it wasn't great. So now you take Liberty out of the ASUN and it drops the average RPI, but the ASUN has a solid baseball league. So I don't know that if Liberty wasn't moving, I think you would not be in moving up as far as baseball goes. But I agree, you did take 3 good baseball schools now and put them in one conference.
New Mexico State hasn't been terrible at baseball either, so that's another good add. I mean, it's my thing with Conference USA is that it's
and we have Dallas Baptist now as well.
The Dallas Baptist joined for.
Did they?
I thought. Okay. Well, do you know what? All
I
right.
didn't know that. Well, maybe so. Maybe I am totally wrong. I didn't know that y'all just decided to take the best baseball team out of every conference.
The Dallas Baptist thing was last year.
Yeah, I guess
in the spring.
In the spring. Yeah. Now that you say that, it sounds right. But here's the thing about Conference USA is that they're still not. They remind me of what like the Sun Belt did back in the early 2000s, and it's. They're looking at these received markets where they think they can get a handhold in. And honestly, they're not going to get a handhold in Houston market, Sam Houston. They're not going to get a handhold in, I don't even know if you want to call it the Birmingham market with Jacksonville State.
It is the Birmingham market.
And Kennesaw, I mean, they're betting on the fact that Kennesaw's in Atlanta. And I get why, but at the same time, Kennesaw is playing fourth fiddle, even if you think about it, to Georgia Tech. And they can fight with Georgia State for who's third fiddle, I guess you can say. So they're not bringing in like strong schools. And my thing with Kennesaw is what the hell are they going to do about their stadium? Like
they have plans to expand.
Yeah,
but have the approval.
They have the approval. Yeah. I mean, can they afford to do it is my question. I guess so if they're making the move, but like, I don't know I wouldn't even put Conference USA as, I mean, I would probably rank them as maybe the third best FCS conference as Conference USA is right now. Like, I mean, it's just, it's not a great thing. And I hope to God that SFA doesn't announce the jump. Now, of course, if we announce that we jump, I'll have to publicly support it, but privately
in the closet, you'll be banging your head on the wall.
Yeah. I'll just, I'm sorry, but I get that there's bowl money. I get there's things behind it, but let's say to me, the opportunity to compete for national championship goes better than playing in a bowl on December 22nd. It really does. Even though SFA hasn't been in national championship since 1989, just personally, I like that. I mean, if you look at WAC basketball and Conference USA basketball, WAC basketball is taking a hit, losing Sam Houston and losing New Mexico State. But WAC basketball still has good teams that compete year in and year out. You have teams like Grand Canyon, you have UT Arlington. Just from that perspective, to me, it would be a jump. Baseball definitely would be. Well, I mean, SFA's not great at baseball, but Conference USA baseball.
Bad.
They're not bad. But I mean, the schools are doing the things that they think are the right moves to grow their brands, and I totally get it. And I think you have to do what you have to do. But man, oh man, do I not want to go to Conference USA.
That's the whole thing about Conference USA. I know some things that I'm not supposed to mention, but what I can say is the whole thing that Conference USA is focusing on is inviting teams that are of big brand names and keeping regional rivalries within the divisions and all that stuff. So they're if they pick up a big media market on the way, great, that's awesome. But that is not what they're focused on. They're focusing on getting big name brands in this conference.
And I figure we're going to already piss off North Dakota State fans who listen to this in a bit. So I'm going to say this now. North Dakota State fans, I know seeing Kennesaw State, you guys are like, we need to jump. I know you're seeing James Madison ranked in top 25. You're like, we need to jump. Here's the problem. You don't bring anything to any of these conferences. You bring
probably winning their conference title.
Probably winning a conference title. You bring 700,000 people that live in the state of North Dakota, and not all of them are Bison fans. So let's look at your Bison diaspora. You're probably maybe 1 million, 1.5 million. I mean, that's great, but you're also on an island in the middle of freaking nowhere. Your closest Mountain West team is 800 miles away. Your closest MAC, who's not going to invite y'all, is 600 miles away. Like, you guys are in just your geography hurts you, but you don't necessarily bring anything to FBS. And I don't mean that like to be mean, but you're not bringing the media market. Your television deal is probably right now better than Conference USA's television deal. I mean, you're the biggest dog in your state. Enjoy it. Enjoy the fact that you're on NBC every Saturday. Like, I mean, you're in Conference USA wants regional rivalries. You don't have one unless they bring South Dakota State. And again, that puts y'all on a little 180-mile wide island versus the rest of the conference. And you guys are going to not want to do Conference USA for all sports because you're not going to want to fly to Boca Raton and play basketball. Like, let's just look at these expectations. Hopefully, if enough westward movement happens, then I could see the Mountain West looking at NDSU. The Mountain West is going to look at Montana and Montana State first.
Mm-hmm. They are.
And
those two teams will be invited first.
And so, like, I'm sorry. Like, honestly, push for you guys and South Dakota State to leave the Missouri Valley and join the WAC, and then push the WAC to use their antiquated FBS flag. Like, that's your best path right now, because you're not going to get the invite that you do think you deserve. So I'm just prepping you to be mad later. Okay. So, you can, I'm just getting you riled up for what's going to come next. and I can't wait to listen to what y'all talked about with Tarleton and Southern Utah. Looking forward to listening to that piece.
It was pretty much just reading a box score. So
yep.
Sorry I missed it.
It's okay. I said, man, he left, and the only game we have left to talk about is a freaking WAC game.
Hey, SFA had the best inning of the year. Good night. We're out. Good night.
Yeah, exactly. But where do you guys think this leaves the ASUN? Because I have my opinion that now the ASUN is truly on the rocks as a football conference.
Mm-hmm.
I do think this ends one of like 3 ways for the member schools. I think you either see the WACSUN become a Missouri Valley Football Conference and like that sort of entity, where it is two separate leagues, like the Summit League and the Missouri Valley, form a football conference, and it is its own entity. Or you see, honestly, you see the 4 schools that are left disband and resolve into their either former conferences, or one joins the other or something like that, or the OVC and the ASUN do something. I don't feel like that's going to happen, though, because OVC's got 6 members that are going to be there for a while. Even though they're at 6, they are a stable 6. They're not going to lose anymore. I don't think any of the Tennessee schools. I don't think
it's rumored they're adding one more from
really?
D2. Yeah, Indianapolis.
I thought the OVC was partnering with the Big South though for something for
that's a scheduling part.
Scheduling, or is it actual like league?
I guess it's scheduling.
It's scheduling, unless the Big South needs an auto bid, and then they might do one auto bid amongst them and schedule, like almost like them throwing the Big South.
Big South doesn't have much left, and the rumor was Chuck South was going to come to the ASUN. That was,
but
now Garner Webb.
Yeah,
my thing is, if you're the ASUN, do you want to have a football conference with teams that aren't good, or do you want to combine with maybe some WAC schools that at least have some tradition and are decent, and maybe just not fly the ASUN flag? But
here's what I would do. I would invite Charleston Southern and Gardner Webb, and then combine with the WAC to have its own football league.
See, I just don't want to be in the same conference as Gardner Webb. And I'll be honest. And now that we're losing Kennesaw, if we can shift west and our furthest east trip be North Alabama, I would love that.
Yeah.
For football, because now just leave Charleston Southern out of it. I don't want to go to South Carolina if I don't have to.
Hey, Charleston's a lovely town.
It is. Isn't it in North Charleston?
Well, it's not even in it's North Charleston or Ladrum, depending on who you ask. But yeah, it's North Charleston. It's not even Charleston itself. It's in North Charleston.
I would be okay with being in a conference with a team like Charleston Southern. I just don't necessarily. If we're going to lose Kennesaw and we don't have to go that far east anymore,
Yeah.
I'd almost rather just combine with the WAC, the football schools. But the problem is the WAC going to be on this? No, we're still, dead set on flying the FBS flag one day again because we have the opportunity to do so.
I don't think so, and I'm going to tell you why. If you look at the current the commissioner replaced Jeff Hurd, he's all about basketball. He's basketball first. I'll tell you what I would like to see happen. Now, first of all, what I think is going to happen is that the ASUN and WAC will become a Missouri Valley conference. Okay, but here's what I would like to see happen.
Not in stature, just in
just in how they do it. But here's what I would like to see. You take Central Arkansas, you take Eastern Kentucky, you take Austin P, you take Northern Alabama, you take Stephen F. Austin, Abilene Christian, UTRGV once they get their football program, and you
should be next 2 years.
I think it's 2 years. And you take Tarleton, although Tarleton's looking to go FBS. You take that 8 great schools right there, and you make a conference out of that. You let the Utah schools, as much as I love you, Utah Tech and Southern Utah, because I do, you guys go back to the Big Sky, because that's honestly your footprint. That's where you guys should be. And then you have a nice Southern Central region that a conference that basically overlaps the Southland in both competitiveness and quality of schools and quality of education. I didn't tell that. But but you do something like that. You do a nice thing. I mean, the Southland's going to be fine. The UNO is going to bring in football. And that's going to completely crush recruiting for the rest. Hopefully. No, the students are for it. They'll bring it in. That's going to crush recruiting for everybody else. So that's what I would like to see. But I think the true thing is going to happen is they're going to make a football conference. I don't know who would commission it though, because Ted Gumbert's retiring. And he was a football guy. He's a football guy, and WAC currently has a basketball commissioner. So basketball first. So I'll be interested to see what happens with that. But sometimes you got to sit back and watch. It's fun to speculate, but you just got to see what happens.
But I do think, as of now, the ASUN vision of having a stable football conference is dead.
No, I wouldn't say that. Because there is enough there. So the difference between ASUN and the WAC, if you look at there's enough schools for the ASUN to pull from. The ASUN could turn around. I mean, the ASUN could easily. There's some great D2 programs right there that they could pull up and transition. And you got Valdosta State, you got West Georgia, you got West Florida, West Alabama,
Delta State.
You got the fighting Okra, Delta State. Mm-hmm. You've got the Wonder Boys in Arkansas Tech. You've got schools in that area that you could more easily pull from than if you're the WAC, because the WAC, who's the WAC going to pull? They're going to pull Angela State? No, they're pulling Midwestern State, maybe West Texas A&M, possibly. But I think even now, the ability for the ASUN to be a stable football conference still exists. But I really do think that it becomes that you get the merger, and you go from there. So I don't think the ASUN's in as dire of straits as the WAC is in terms of being a football conference.
If anybody from the ASUN listens to this, if you're gonna form a conference with the WAC, let me be the commissioner.
Yeah.
Just let us all three be the commissioner.
Yeah,
we could do
agree.
A co-commissioner.
Yeah.
Thing.
If I mean, honestly, if I was going to push for anybody who could be commissioner of that conference, it would be Teague. Honestly, I think he would be. I that's who I would push for that. To be honest with you, so
yeah, but that would mean he couldn't be our AD.
I know, but it's time for him to have bigger and better things. And I think he would be a great commissioner because he sees the landscape of the football. So
it's true.
Yep,
that'd be fun. If we did that little 8-team conference you were talking about, Rev, that'd be kind of fun to overlap the Southland, because I think it would be a better conference than the Southland. And if UIW and Southeastern are still a little bit discontent, bring them on. Because now the whole thing, I think, with those schools, like I know Southeastern was interested, but they were a little bit skittish, and probably for good reason, because look where we're at. But if you had a stable home and you said now, if you want to leave the WAC or the Southland, you can. I think they would. So
Yeah, 100% agree.
if you give them a stable destination to land at. So enough about realignment and all. I'm sure that'll be not the last time we'll talk about it. But it is time to officially really piss off some fan bases. And I just want to say before you hear about this bracketology, this is not the WACSUN Weekly bracketology. This is the Brandon Owens bracketology. And this is for him. And we will debate it. So
Can we give a better disclaimer? Ready? This bracketology views and opinions are those of Brandon Owens and not necessarily shared by those of Will Seiler and Dustin Hilton or WACSUN Weekly or FCS Fans Nation or the entire FCS fans community as a whole.
So, all right, without further ado, we're going to do this the way they do it on the show. We're going to start with the seeds. And man, if I had known, God, I should have had stuff ready for this. All right. We're going to go 1 through 8, and we may have to kind of hurry through the previews, which is fine.
That's fine.
It's picks. So, all right. Who is your overall number 1 seed with a bye, or not a bye, but a bye and then home field all the way through the semis?
I have Sacramento State.
Oh, boy. The first controversy. All right, give me your resume. Give me your reasoning for why Sac State is.
All right, let me pull up their schedule. Where is their tab?
Here, I have their schedule up already.
I bet Brandon's got like 42 tabs open on his computer.
Yes. So their resume overall is they're undefeated right now. 0 ranked wins and 1-0 against the FBS. And if you look at all their games, they've pretty much dominated. They dominated Utah Tech. Didn't necessarily dominate UNI. Dominated Colorado State. Dominated Cal Poly. Dominated Northern Arizona. Now the real test. I didn't realize how much of a stretch they had. Their next 4 games are Eastern Washington, Montana, Idaho, and Weber State.
Well, and this is the bracketology based on if it ended today. So we can.
Right.
I mean, you can say with confidence that they may not be in that one spot.
Correct.
Come
because
November.
Whenever we do this again, Sac State will not be my number 1 unless they somehow go undefeated throughout these next 4 games.
Which, Dustin, you shake your head. If they do go undefeated through those games, they will be the number 1 overall seed.
I don't see them going undefeated through those 4 games.
No, I don't either. But
they do have Montana at home though, and that's a huge thing to have because they don't have to go to Washington Grizzly. But the Big Sky is a great thing. I still, even with that resume, don't think they'd still be the number 1 seed. I'm not lying to you. I really don't. But that depends on what happens this Saturday and between who I think the number 1 seed should be and the team who Brandon probably has like a 6 or 7 seed for. So like, I mean that there's so much there, but if we use bracketology as right now, like you're talking about, Sacramento State doesn't have the best resume in FCS, hands down. They don't. They've played the weakest part of their Big Sky schedule, and then I think they're probably the most put together team in FCS, but I don't think they have that stronger resume to be viewed as a number 1 seed. Top 4, maybe. Number 1, no.
That's good. This is
but they do have the FBS win. Granted, it's not a very good FBS win. They do have that FBS win that does help them, that the committee highly values.
Colorado Pueblo would beat Colorado State if they played each other. Colorado State.
That's kind of sad.
That's a Colorado. I mean, the best Division I program in the state of Colorado right now is the Northern Colorado Bears, and they're awful. They are so bad, and they got completely boat raced by Sacramento State. So I don't like. They do have an FBS win, which is fine. I agree. Now, if you look at the worst 25 teams in the FBS, I think Colorado State is ranked as either the worst or next to worst. And the one that's next to them is the University of Colorado, or at least it was last week. So that FBS win, and that's great for the committee. Not that strong. I don't think it's that strong of an FBS win, though, you know. But it's still, I mean, it's still is you can't take that away from them. To me, the team that should be number 1 is right here on the shirt. They have the best resume right now. They have the best strength of schedule. They're the only ones in the top 5 that have a top 10 strength of schedule right now. So I think that's where I lovingly and totally disagree with you on that one. But I applaud you for going out and saying Sacramento State's number 1 and valiantly pissing off the rest of the FCS.
Well, surely they'll be his number 2 seed. So Brandon, tell us that your 2 seed is South Dakota State.
No, it's Montana State.
Oh my God, dude, we're gonna end up on another hype video. We're gonna end up on everybody's hype video.
Now, as far as like Montana State is concerned, with the exception of their FBS loss, they and Eastern Washington, they have completely boat raced everybody that they have played.
Yeah, I'll buy Montana State as a 2 without Sac State being 1. I will buy Montana State being one of the top 3 teams in the country. Rev is silently sending messages to the group text. So
I don't disagree with Montana State. I think they would actually be a good 2-3 seed with what they've done this year. I think they might be one. I think they're better than University of Montana. So I actually support this one. I think this was a good. They have it right now. They have the resume for it. They've done well, even with some of the injury issues they've had. So I actually agree with you.
So we've got some agreement there.
Yeah,
okay, which means we can move on to South Dakota State, obviously being the 3 seed. So
nope.
Oh my goodness, who's your 3 seed?
Weber State.
Good God.
So my top 3 seeds all come from the Big Sky.
Which won't happen.
It won't happen.
Right. They'll beat
But
each
if
other
it
up.
ended today,
it still wouldn't happen.
Okay. So let's just roll. Let's keep rolling through here. Now, who's your 4 seed?
South Dakota State.
Thank God they finally showed up. Brendan is gonna.
Hey, listen, South Dakota State football, because we are your favorite podcast. Just remember the shirt that's being worn right here, right now. Just remember that.
If I had one,
and also South Dakota State people, y'all will finish higher come at the end of the year.
Just remember the shirt.
Y'all will be a top 2 seed
when you put this on your hype video, because I know you're going to, and Matt, I know you're going to send it over to him. Just make sure you zoom in on Brandon Owens' face right there. You can leave Will and I out of this.
The good thing is he hasn't said anything bulletin board material. Like, you would have to play the whole podcast to understand. Like, at least he hasn't said like South Dakota State sucks or anything like that.
Yeah.
But all right, who's your 5th?
Holy Cross.
Dude, the people in Fargo are stroking out right now.
People in Missoula.
They are. It's true. Honestly, yeah.
I mean, I could see Holy Cross at the end of the season getting a seed. I don't think they'll be a 5th seed. I think they'll be a 7 or 8. But they honestly look really good this year. I jokingly said they're the best team in New England. I wasn't sure. They're the best team in New England in the FCS. I jokingly said they could beat the Patriots. That's really not true. But I mean, they look really good. I could see them getting a seed. I think 5 is a bit aspirational, considering the rest of the conference they play in.
Your best win is over Buffalo.
Yeah.
You haven't played anybody else. I mean, you've played some Ivies, you've played Harvard, you played Yale, which those are good wins. Don't get me wrong, but it's not like you're playing a Big Sky or a Missouri Valley schedule or even a Colonial schedule. I mean, your week in, week out, those games are just not as hard. And so I do feel like they'll kind of be the East Tennessee State maybe of last year. Though East Tennessee State might have been better, I think. I don't know. Holy Cross looks good, but I don't think they'll be a team.
According to the Versus Simulator app, they're the number 1 team in the country right now.
Yeah,
okay.
That's
very.
But that's based on an algorithm, so.
Right, that's very misled or misguided. I would argue.
Yeah.
Okay, so your 5th seed's Holy Cross. Who is your 6th seed?
Montana.
I mean, it's a good thing you finally put them in there. Maybe they won't kill you. If there was a fan base that was going to buy a Hitman because they were pissed about a bracketology to kill Brandon, that it would be Montana.
Yes,
That's
it
crazy.
would.
But okay, I feel like I can just disagree now because they're just low. I would put them higher.
I think at the end of the day, when they get through the rest of the conference play, they'll be
Yeah.
higher. I know it's how it is right now. But really, right now, who have they played? They played South
Right.
Dakota, right? Like
Yeah.
and they've had their struggles. They had their struggles against Idaho State.
They did. They almost lost in Poke.
I could see where they are, like where you have them right now. But to be truly honest, they would beat the holy hell out of Holy Cross if they played 1-on-1. Like like they just absolutely would. So
Oh yeah.
I'm just saying. We should honestly intersperse this clip with like Red Dead Redemption clips of a guy going after Brandon because that's basically what's going to happen. If you hear hoofbeats outside your apartment, run.
All right. So who is your 7 seed?
So let me start this by saying before this past weekend, they were a lot higher in my book. My 7 seed is North Dakota State.
So North Dakota State's not allowed to have a close game ever, I guess.
To a horrible Indiana State team?
Man, it happens. We lost to a transitioning D2 team.
Yeah, but you don't have 9 national championships in the past. I think there's a lot of recency bias that's going into that.
That's fair.
But,
People expect too much out of North Dakota State.
yeah.
I wholeheartedly believe that. Their fans, the committee, just general FCS fans, I think, expect too much.
Hey, and since we're pissing off fans, North Dakota State fans, what the hell's wrong with you? You guys are so tired of winning, you're not going to buy season tickets. Like, what is wrong with you? Go support your winning team. The fact that I could go in a few weeks ago, I could go online and get a ticket to one of their games whenever they played whoever it was, Butler or Drake or whatever school it was, and get tickets right then. Like, you should be thankful for the fact that you have a team that is that damn good. And you should enjoy it instead of being like, oh, I'm bored, I'm not going to go with this. You know what? Piss off, okay? Like you're such prima donnas and you're ridiculous. Now, and to that point too, I mean, yes, North Dakota State's doing what we've seen them do before, where they start off slow and then they peak right when it matters, and they peak in the playoffs and they get everything together. I was enjoying watching them struggle against Indiana State, some just because it's fun, because you do want.
I was hoping they would lose. I'll be honest.
Me too.
But at the same time, you can't fault. I mean, I get that a 5-point win isn't going to blow most people's skirts up when it comes to or they're good or not. But to have them at 7, I think that, I mean, even if the season ended today, I think that is so insanely low for them. They would be a 3 seed wherever Montana's not. I think it would go 1 SCSU, 2 Montana, NDSU, 3 the other, or Montana State, NDSU. 2 or 3, and then Montana is 4. So but again, if Montana doesn't assassinate you, again, if you hear hoofbeats, it could be some folks from Fargo.
All right. So rounding out your seeds, who is your 8 seed?
So I was actually considering 3 teams for this. This one was really hard. I was considering Incarnate Word and Delaware, but after talking to some people, and talking it through, Incarnate Word's loss is looking so bad after this past weekend. So they got eliminated. Delaware, even though it was a close loss, it's an FCS loss. Even though they also have an FBS win. But when you look at this other team, they are undefeated against FCS. And my number 8 is Mercer.
I buy it.
I buy that.
I think the SoCon champion, if it's Mercer, will end up seeded. So
absolutely buy that as well.
And I feel like that's reasonable predictively, as far as a prediction and as far as right now. So I buy that. No argument. All right, so let's talk about who you have not seeded. And we might need to maybe not debate it as much. I don't know. We're sitting up almost at an hour now. So who do you have in the Sac State bracket? Who do you have going to Sacramento?
I have Incarnate Word versus Austin P.
Okay, and which one of those is your champion? Are you using a Southland champion UIW and a WACSUN
Southland versus WACSUN?
Both like auto bids.
Yes, auto bids.
Okay. I can see both of those teams obviously coming out. I think UIW can come out of the Southland easily. I think Austin P can come out of the WACSUN for sure. So moving to your 8 seed, who do you have coming out to play Mercer?
I have the CAA champion playing the Big South champion, Elon versus Campbell.
So you've got Elon winning the CAA.
Mm-hmm.
That's bold.
That's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off.
Yeah, we'll see how that one plays out. Okay, I still think I don't think they'll win the CAA.
No, I think it's Delaware or William and Mary.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think it's one of those two. And honestly, like I'm surprised to do not take this the wrong way, Brandon. I'm very surprised to see that like matchup because I really, if you'd put CAA champion, I would have been like, oh, it's either William and Mary or Delaware.
Yeah,
bold. I mean, if it comes true, dude, we'll roll this podcast clip and be like, there's one person in the world that said this is going to happen.
If this comes true and Elon wins the CAA, they are the CAA outright champion, not some weird sort of thing. They're the outright champion. I will buy you a bottle of whatever you want in Frisco.
Okay.
It'll be wine.
Didn't say where it's from. It's on the Target. I'm just kidding.
I'm just playing.
Getting that Walgreens one.
So moving down the bracket, I buy Campbell coming out of the Big South.
Yeah,
I would. Yeah.
Easily.
So the SDSU 4 seed bracket, who do you have playing there?
I have the OVC champion playing the NEC champion, UT Martin versus St. Francis.
I don't think UT Martin wins the OVC. I think SEMO does. I think SEMO is loaded, honestly. I think they've got, they're so. Paxton DeLaurent is very underrated, in my opinion, and Geno Hess can run the freaking football. Now, they don't play each other, so that'll be interesting because they could both end undefeated. So I don't know how they're going to determine that, but one of those two teams will win the OVC.
Yeah.
So, and then St. Francis, I couldn't tell you about the NEC.
Yeah, they're hands down going to win the NEC. So.
All right. The Holy Cross bracket, you have who?
At large Delaware versus versus another at large from the Patriot League, Delaware versus Fordham.
Okay. I buy Delaware being an at large, just not coming second to Elon.
Yeah.
And then the Patriot League getting a second team in it could happen. Maybe. It's not as crazy as putting North Dakota State as the 7 seed. I mean, is it a bold statement? Maybe. Is it the boldest statement in this podcast? No.
I think Fordham is going to be one of the first 4 out. They're going to get Lehigh, as we call it, where they have such a great year and then they just get left out because of who they are and the fact that they're only going to give the Patriot League 1, which sucks because Fordham looks really damn good too. So, but you know what? Weirder stuff has happened with playoff committees. Maybe this is the year we get more parity and we get more small conferences getting, more than just their AQ in, but I would be shocked if the Patriot League gets 2.
Yeah. All right. Who do you have going to Ogden in the second round?
At large from OVC and at large from SoCon, SEMO versus Samford.
Okay, so I think SEMO and UT Martin, if you got them both in the bracket, interchangeable. Do not disagree. I think they could both get in for sure. Samford, yeah, I think that's a valid at-large selection out of the SoCon.
Yeah, I agree.
They look the part. Chris Hatcher's got them rolling. I don't disagree with any part of that, Brandon. I'm glad other than where they're going in the second round.
I don't think the geography
was the hardest thing. It was placing these teams. There were so many Eastern schools compared to Western schools, and even when you put like the Midwest in the West, it was so hard.
All right, who do you have going to Missoula to face their death to play a pissed off 6 seed?
At large from the Valley and facing off against the Pioneer champion, Southern Illinois versus Valparaiso.
So I feel bad for Valpo because they're going to get slaughtered.
Yeah.
I mean, I think St.
I
Thomas
almost
is
put
not.
Valpo against another team.
I
Almost.
honestly think you would have Valpo going more in that Sac State bracket sort of. It's just I don't know. Valpo is going to get the best team in the Patriot League is not going to be in the playoffs because it's St.
Right.
Thomas.
Yeah.
Right. And the Sock Lukis are going to shred.
The Sock Lukis are playing some inspired, really ticked off football.
Yeah,
right
I think the Sock Lukis could actually hang with Montana and Missoula, to be honest with you, with the way they're going. Like they managed to get their 30 transfers in, they're playing as a cohesive team, and they are just completely just shredding who they play.
I agree. I think Southern Illinois is a solid at-large selection out of the Valley.
Yep.
All right, Montana State bracket. Who do you have going to Bozeman?
An at-large from the WACSUN facing at-large from CAA, EKU versus William and Mary.
Okay, maybe my first disagreement is the second out of the WACSUN. I don't know that it'll happen. Not saying it's impossible, but I do think there are a couple schools in your first four out that we'll get to in a minute that would get in over EKU, but still not bad. What would you say, Rev?
I mean, if anyone's going to do it from the WACSUN, it's EKU.
Yeah.
Because I don't think let's say SFA runs through the rest of their schedule. Don't think 8-3 is with what they're. I mean, you can't ding them on their losses because of who they were to, but their wins aren't strong enough to merit over Eastern Kentucky, who would have a FBS win. So I think if there's anyone who does it, it's going to be Eastern Kentucky.
I just don't know that anybody else is going to run the table. I really don't know that SFA will. Not saying they can't. I think they can win every game left on their schedule, but I do think that game in Abilene will be a tough one. So, like you said, if anybody's going to do it, it's going to be EKU.
Yeah.
So, and William and Mary, I think does make it. I'm glad you have them in the playoffs at least. Now maybe the auto bid situation, but anyway. All right, and then the severely underrated Bison from North Dakota State. Who are they going to slaughter because they're also pissed off? Who are they going to play?
At-large from SoCon against at-large from CAA, UTC versus Richmond.
So you have 3 SoCon schools in.
Yes.
I mean, that could happen for sure. I don't have a problem with it. Again, maybe somebody out of your first 4 out has an argument there.
Mm-hmm.
But let's run through here. You're in your bracket. You've got 4 Big Sky schools.
Yes.
1 from the Big South,
Mm-hmm.
4 from the Colonial,
Mm-hmm.
which I think one thing the Colonial has going for it is that they're all pretty good, but they're beating up on each other. And so that could go really good or really bad. It could cause them to get less in or more. Who knows? 3 from the Valley, 2 of which are seeds. I saw your message. 1 from the NEC. Sure, they're not going to get another one in. 2 from the OVC. Normally, I would say no, but because they don't play each other, yes, they will get 2 in. I think UT Martin and SEMO both get in. 1 from the Pioneer, sure. 2 from the Patriot. Again, we said that was bold, but not the boldest prediction in this bracketology. 3 from the SoCon. I think it could happen. I think they're playing well as a conference. 1 from the Southland. Normally, I would say I think the Southland can get 2, but I just don't know that the strength of schedule is there for Southeastern to get, especially with a loss to Commerce, to get in. So, and then 2 from the WACSUN, which we said may or may not happen. Who are your first 4 out?
In order, UND, New Hampshire, Idaho, and Monmouth.
Okay. Is there a level of prediction with Idaho being the 3rd of the first 4 out, or do you think today they would be in the first 4 out? Okay,
yeah, because they're not going to get
because they don't have enough FCS wins.
Okay. North Dakota looks not too bad.
Mm-mm.
I think they could very well get in. I think the Valley will get 4.
I think that's the thing. Looking at these numbers, I would be shocked if Valley only got 3. I think you're going to see that that second Patriot go to the Valley. And I think honestly, you're going to see one of the SoCon ones go to the Valley as well, to be honest with you. And that's just what's going to happen. And then of course, there's going to be certain shows that might lose their head over Twitter about the fact that the SoCon isn't getting represented as much as they should in the playoffs. But, you know, I mean, let's be honest, the top 4, top 5 of the Missouri Valley would completely obliterate just about every other conference they played in and win. So I think you're going to see that just happen.
Somebody I think you should look out for, Illinois State. Talking about the Valley, that's a sleeper.
There's a reason why they're in my next 4 out.
They lost to Southern Illinois by 5. They beat Northern Iowa this past week. They play South Dakota this week. So keep an eye on those guys, because if they beat South Dakota, they should beat Indiana State. And then that brings up a pretty big showdown in Fargo. So now I don't know that they'll make it through that last half of the Valley schedule, having to play both Dakota States. So
they might get South Dakota State at a really weak point for South Dakota State, because South Dakota State doesn't have a bye until November the 19th.
Oh, good God. Yeah, that would not be.
You said November the 19th.
Their bye is the last week of the season.
Oh my God.
That sucks.
Yeah.
That really
they
sucks.
got screwed on their scheduling, and they had USD this past weekend, which they completely obliterated. And then they have the marker game this weekend, which I think will then decide who is the best team, decide who's going to be, honestly, will have the number 1 seed, because whoever wins the marker game is probably going to win out. Although South Dakota State is known for their slip-ups, you know, they lose a game they shouldn't lose. Thankfully it wasn't on a Hail Mary play like it was last year against South Dakota this past week. But yeah, like South Dakota State, man, if they grind, do the rest of the season, and then they get 2 weeks of bye before the playoffs, they're gonna come in with the freshest legs at that point. So
who are your next 4 out?
Rhode Island, Villanova, Abilene Christian, and Illinois State.
Rev's laughing at Abilene Christian. I know that's who he's laughing at. Okay. Who were your last 4 in, or did you do it?
My last 4 in were, let's see if I can remember.
Yeah. If you don't remember, it's fine.
EKU is one of them.
Okay. Was the second Patriot League?
UTC and Fordham were 2 others.
Okay.
And then the last one was, I believe, well, crap, SIU. That's who it was.
Okay. Well, I mean, it's week 6. We can't really argue too much. I think the only thing I can really argue with is the seedings right now.
Yeah, agree.
Everything else, you know, maybe it shakes out, maybe it doesn't. But that was fun. We're gonna have to come up with like a graphic of the bracket and post it so people can see it, because I know it'll be hard to follow just us talking. But we'll try to get that posted on Twitter.
And one thing I'm going to say this, because you're going to have fan bases who look at this and go, "What the hell?" and are pissed off about it. Dude, at least he's brave enough to put what his bracketology is right now. Like, man up and put yours up. You know, it's bracketology is fun. It's like doing a poll the first 3 weeks of the season. You know, at the end right now, it doesn't matter. It's just fun to talk about. And if I can, as much as I disagree with his points, I can see where his arguments come from. So I can't fault him for what he did, although I do disagree, and that's the fun of it. But some of y'all I know are going to take this seriously or get really salty about it, and just, you know, just calm down. Okay. Let's take a deep breath, take a walk, calm down.
That's what Jamie Williams said about mine. He said, "You have a solid bracket, just a few disagreements, but you have a solid bracket." So
yeah, I don't see Kyler Neal posting his bracketology.
Yeah, I don't see
exactly.
Yeah,
that bum
didn't
even know where UIW was.
All right, let me see what you said in the group.
All right, so we're coming up on an hour and 10 minutes, so it is time to jump into some previews for week 7. Good God, it's hard to believe it's week 7. Honestly, kind of sad, but let's just rapid fire these.
Okay.
Like game day. So think like, you know, Lee Corso, make a stupid comment and then pick your team. So we'll start off with Jacksonville State and Tuna, as Brandon likes to call them.
Yes, because they are tuna.
Tuna. I can't pick against Jacksonville State. I know that's an interstate rival. I know UNA looks better, but Jacksonville State really hasn't had any struggles with the exception of playing the getting caught in the Golden Hurricane. That's Tulsa. So give me Jacksonville State.
Yeah, I would agree with you. North Alabama coming off an emotional loss to Kennesaw State for sure, so probably going to be a little bit drained. So give me Jacksonville State.
Yeah, I'm gonna roll with the Gamecocks in this one. I don't really need to talk about it, although it is a rivalry game. The past three meetings, UNA has played us close, so I expect it to be another close one. But I don't think JSU should have any issues.
All right, moving on. UCA Kennesaw State in what was possibly going to be the game of the week, but I vetoed that very quickly. So who you guys got?
If UCA's defense doesn't show up, I got Kennesaw State. We'll put it that way. The Kennesaw, if UCA can't stop them about the quarterback, and Xavier Shepard is coming out with fire in him now after getting benched, that doesn't bode well for the Bears.
Brandon?
Yeah, I think I actually think UCA is going to struggle with the run early on and then contain it in the second half and make it a little closer game. But I'm actually going to roll with Kennesaw State in this one.
This is I think it depends on who shows up for UCA. I think you have all the ability in the world to go either way. So Murray State, Austin P in what I guess is technically a rivalry game.
This is a rivalry game.
Yeah. Is it named?
No.
Okay. But it's just kind of two very close schools.
It's an understood rivalry.
So I'm going to roll with Austin P. They coming off a bye week after getting just manhandled in Conway. I don't see them slipping up with Murray at home.
I agree, and also Murray is absolute trash this year. They aren't a good football team. Austin P by 17.
Yeah, Austin P coming off a bye. You got to go with him.
All right. Sam Houston making the long trip to Eastern Kentucky.
I'm picking Eastern Kentucky.
Yeah.
I'm picking. Sam Houston has a lot of quarterback issues. It's like Shoemaker's not an accurate quarterback. Their offense, yes, they did beat SFA and by 1 point, but their offense hasn't looked great. They seem lost without Ryan Carty. And the Colonels, yeah, they took a loss that I didn't expect them to take against Austin P, but the Colonels still look pretty damn good this year. So I'm gonna give it to the Colonels. And plus, it's a pain to go to Richmond and try to win.
Yeah. Especially when they just had a bye week.
Yep.
So yeah, I'm rolling with Colonels in this one.
My opinion on Sam Houston is if they're playing a good team, they'll lose. If they're playing a not so good team, they'll win. So yeah, I'm gonna roll with Eastern Kentucky because I think they are a good team. Southern Utah making the trip to Abilene Christian. This is a tough one.
I'm gonna take.
Oh my God!
What is going on?
Oh no! Oh,
see when you piss him off that much,
he's already coming to fight about your bracket.
His team's not in it, so.
Hey, but you want to know what my team is? They're ranked
undefeated
in the FBS.
And ranked.
Yeah, let's go Dukes.
I saw you guys had your broadcast is still going on. I was like, let me jump in here.
Yeah.
Matt jumped into ours the last minute. So, we just finished recording the Big Boy Show. So I figured I'd pop on in and see what's going on in the WACSUN.
Okay, well, here, who do you think's going to win, Southern Utah or Abilene Christian?
Well,
tough one to just like jump in on.
I'm picking Southern Utah because I'm sticking with Delane Fitzgerald. That's my guy. I'm sticking with him. They had a tough loss this past week to Tarleton. They almost made it all the way back. Just fell short, but that's a team that's building something. I'm sticking with Southern Utah, and I got a WACSUN shirt on.
There you go.
Let's go, man.
Hey.
That's awesome.
And the hat looks
and
good
the hat.
too. And the hat
Hey,
is solid.
when you have the most fun win of the weekend, I put the shirt on.
Wasn't that crazy though?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's yeah. So between Southern Utah and Abilene Christian, it's really tough. The fact that the game's in Abilene and not in Cedar City, I'm gonna take the Toyota Corollas of the WAC, the Abilene Christian. I mean, Dobbins looked great this week on the ground. I think he could probably run all over the Thunderbirds. Although I hate to pick against Coach Fitzgerald because I do like Southern Utah, but my heart says that it's going to be Abilene Christian.
Yeah, Abilene continues to maybe prove me wrong at the times I think that they're not going to show up. Like I really thought SFA would handle them at home. They continue to prove me wrong, so I'm going to say they win.
Yeah, I'm going with Abilene. I don't think Southern Utah is going to get it done in Abilene, Texas.
Yep.
Awesome. All right, Utah Tech making the trip to Northern Iowa to play in the Unidome. Jamie, you're the guest. Go first, man.
I mean, Northern Iowa just lost to Illinois State, so this is a little bit harder pick than it otherwise would have been, but I'll go with UNI. They're the
At
most
home.
confusing team in the world, so they'll just win this week.
At home, yeah, I'm gonna stick
Yeah.
with UNI. I do think Utah Tech, man, they sling the ball around, but they don't win football games, and so, yeah, give me Northern Iowa.
I hate UNI's turf. I think that is the ugly. You talk about the colored fields. I think their piss poor attempt at green stripes and that Iowa P logo they have at the midfield. Like, hate the. And I'm picking the upset. I think it's finally time that Utah Tech gets their dub. That they've had such a tough ass schedule. They're putting things together. They are slinging the ball around, and I don't think UNI is that good this year. So I'm giving the Trailblazers. Let's go. Let's get an upset pick.
What was the score of their game this week?
They didn't.
They
Are you
didn't
talking about
play?
Utah
Oh,
Tech? Didn't
yeah.
play.
Yeah, Utah Tech's going off a bye.
Oh, then I'm going Utah Tech on this one.
Well,
We'll
listen,
see.
if Brandon picks it, I trust it because he and I are currently winning the game of the week right now. So I just want to say,
Don't feel
Okay.
bad, Will. I'm terrible too.
I don't even care anymore. I'm just picking for fun now. I don't know what they're gonna make me do in Frisco, but it's not gonna.
we're gonna make you do Soko kamikazes with Kevin the entire night. That's gonna be
Okay, sounds good. Kevin's gonna love your bracket, Brandon.
Got to smoke 6 packs of Marlboro Reds too.
yeah, exactly.
Oh god.
Bailey's gonna
All right.
hate us.
I gotta reel this back in. Game of the week: Tarleton making the trip to NAC to play SFA. Let's see. I'm gonna go with Rev because I don't think he likes Tarleton very much.
It's weird. I do have a dislike for Tarleton. I think part of that was going to high school not far from them remotely and knowing a lot of people who went there and just not a fan of their bravado about their stadium. Like I'm glad you increase your stadium size now. You get asses in the seats and then brag about going to FBS. But I digress. This game is going to be interesting because I look at Abilene Christian and I look at Tarleton. I see two very similar teams. Bo Allen can sling the rock. I mean, he can move the ball. I think SFA is a lot better against the pass than the run. I don't think Tarleton's as good on the ground as Abilene Christian is. I will be at this game. I will be. You'll be able to see me on the stream because I'll be down in the south end zone. I'm going to take SFA because I think this is where SFA starts to get the momentum going to get them ready for games in November against UCA and against the return trip to against Abilene Christian. It's another game at home of Bryce before they go to Utah to play the T-Birds. So I'm going to take SFA on this one.
Brandon,
I think this game is going to be a lot like the Abilene Christian game. It's going to be really close, really back and forth. And it's going to come down to the wire, except I don't think Tarleton will screw up the last play. I think Tarleton will actually handle business and get the win. I'm taking Tarleton State.
all right, Jamie.
You know, sometimes when a team has a really emotional win where it goes completely opposite of what you think is going to happen, you think you're going to overtime, and then you kick a 51-yard field goal, you can get some momentum from that. And I think there's still talent on the SFA team, and I'm not going to give up on them. I think they do pick up a win and start getting some momentum, and I think this past Saturday with that kick sailing through after, a couple of plays that went their way. I mean, the breaks went their way. They got the win. I think it's time to start rolling downhill for the Lumberjacks. I think they win this week.
I'm going to say what I said last week about SFA, and size and talent is not lacking on that roster. And you see it every time you play them. Like every time they come to Conway, anytime we play them, I always am honestly in awe of like the years that y'all were bad. Just getting off the bus, you look like an FBS team. Like the men you have playing on your team is impressive. And Tarleton does not do that for me as much. And so I'm going to say what I said last week. SFA should be the physically more impressive team. They're starting to build some momentum, like Jamie said. So I think they give up 450 yards of offense, but they win. So that's going to be my prediction. And if I get both of those right, I get 2 game of the week points.
No, you don't.
Yes, I do.
You sure don't. We already gave you a catch up. You're not getting that right. You're not getting anything else.
Speaking of all that, like, am I still in the lead?
I think we tied again.
Yeah, y'all are
You
tied.
and I are tied.
Yeah.
What was the game of the week last week?
SFA and Abilene Christian.
Yeah.
And I picked Abilene, didn't I?
Yes, you did.
Okay. Yeah, I'm at 500.
I got to retally everything.
Yeah, we should double check it. Yeah, we'll double check. We'll check the notes. I think we're tied, or you might. I can't remember if you. No, I think you picked Abilene Christian.
I picked SFA last week though, and so I'm making a comeback.
Yeah. So,
but
it wasn't a clean sweep around the board.
Mm-mm.
So
we haven't had a clean sweep since the beginning of the season.
Yeah, we know how that worked out. No, that's not true. We all picked Chatty to beat North Alabama.
That's right.
We did have a clean one there because that was the worst game of the week we picked.
Oh my gosh, the game that week was awful.
Because someone didn't want UCA to be another game of the week again, even though they should have been.
I've got veto power on that one. All right, guys, it is coming up on an hour and 20 minutes, so we'll be done for the night. But this was fun. This was a good episode. The bracketology was bold, to say the least. We will get a graphic thrown up to put on Twitter. But
let me say real quick, Will. Brandon gave me sneak peeks earlier. He made a little revision. What I will say is I think he's got the right 24 teams.
We had no disagreement on, like, when we were going through the teams that were in, we were like, okay, yeah, they could definitely be in the bracket.
Yeah, I think he's got the right 24 teams. I don't necessarily agree with his seeds, but he can defend his seeds.
My seeds.
Is that how you're putting it?
You sent me? Yeah, he could defend it.
The one, like the most recent one, after I talked to you earlier today.
Okay, so Jamie, let's just run down the seeds again, because here's what he had, because I went, dear God, whenever I got so his seeds were number 1, Sac State, number 2, Montana State, number 3, Weber State, number 4, the team who should be number 1, South Dakota State, number 5, Holy Cross, number 6, Montana, number 7, the homeless cows, as the Jacks like to call them, and then number 8, Mercer.
Yeah, that was the revised one he sent me.
Yeah.
He can defend it.
Yeah.
He can defend it. I mean, Sac State, Weber State both have FBS wins. And Sac State's whipping everybody. They don't have the schedule quite yet. So I can see it. Not where I'm going to be most likely, but I can see it. Defend it, and it'll change a lot.
Well, what people have to remember, one, it's one person's opinion, and two, it's if the season ended today.
Yeah, like don't lie to you. I think you have the top 8 seeds. I just don't think you have the right order. You know,
which I would kill to be a seed, no matter what order it was in.
No shit, right?
But, so if you're mad about your seed, just be glad you're a seed.
Yeah, you get Thanksgiving
except
weekend off.
The 3rd seed for Jacksonville State. We don't want the 3 seed.
But Brandon, we appreciate you doing that. That
was awesome.
We'll have to do it again,
sure.
a couple weeks from now.
Yeah, we'll let some things change. Let the Big Sky, top of the Big Sky, start playing each other, and get the marker game in. I think that'll be telling, and then we'll revisit and revise the bracket. So, guys, this was fun. Tell us what you think in the comments, but make sure you're smashing that subscribe button. That is the best way to support this and get notifications when all the content's coming out. We're up to it's 10 podcasts now, I think. I mean, it's It's wild.
10 or 11, yeah.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
added the Day and Keith show from East Tennessee State. Talked about that this past week. So make sure you give them a listen. There's a ton of great content coming out.
And it's not just the podcast. We do have Jamie doing his top 25 recap each week, and that's a great thing to check out. Love it or hate it, he puts it out there, just like Brandon put out his brackets, and it's very enjoyable. It's one of the things I look forward to every week, because then I can remind him that he totally missed on SFA last year, where he had them on his. I'm just kidding, but no, that's all the stuff. All the shows are great. They're all worth listening to. So make sure you definitely check them out.
Yep. No, this was fun. We really appreciate it. Make sure you smash that subscribe button. Join the Facebook page. Follow all of us on Twitter, and follow the FCS Fans Nation page on Twitter as well. It's the best place to get FCS content, in my opinion. And I would say a lot of people would agree with me. So we're thankful that you guys listened to this. I hope you made it through the whole thing. We'll be back next week to recap week 7 and talk about
with a special guest.
Yeah, we'll have a special guest.
Special
I mean,
guest.
Jamie Williams is a special guest, but we do have another special guest. We have
somebody that's actually scheduled that doesn't just jump in randomly when they feel like it.
Hey, Dustin and I almost jumped in on the Big Boy show tonight.
That is true. We almost did.
The guest next week may or may not shut the show down if he doesn't like it. It's the pod father, as I like to call him.
It is the pod. It is the boss man.
Yeah.
And we're looking at having the CFP football campus tour, gentlemen.
Yes.
Pop in.
Cool.
Sometime this month. So that'll be fun too. So
awesome.
We can just get schedules aligned.
It'll be good.
But we also have Jamie Williams coming in whenever he damn well pleases.
Yeah. We're glad you came in. That was awesome.
Yeah,
it's always fun to get a random guest. So, all right. Thanks, guys. I had fun. I hope you guys had fun as well. We'll be back next week to recap week 7 and talk about week 8. We'll see ya. Good night, everybody.